What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Uncle Carlton, co-host of the Two Black Kings podcast. Xavier, what's up with you, man?
What's good, kings and queens? My name is Xavier Greer. I'm also the co-host of the Two Black Kings podcast. Thank you for joining us this week.
The Two Black Kings podcast seeks to inspire a generation to equip themselves with tools to navigate life. We will be discussing topics such as financial literacy, pop culture, and relationships from the perspective of two Black kings.
Here on the Two Black Kings podcast, we want to bring you different perspectives from some of the highest achievers within their fields. While the guests we have on the show do not reflect the ideas of the co-hosts nor the companies we work for, we believe in providing you with the knowledge, tools to take your life to the next level.
Before you do anything, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Send it out to at least 5 friends and follow us on Instagram at Two Black Kings.
All right, let's get into this week's episode.
What's up, guys? There's your boy, Uncle Carlton, back again with another video, or I guess another podcast with the Two Black Kings. Xavier, what's good with you, bro?
Man, oh man. It's good to be back. I feel like I ain't talked to you since like 30 minutes ago.
Look at that.
Nah, but I've been straight, bro. Well, let me tell you what happened. And this is when I was telling you how I almost didn't make this shit. So, just to start the story off, I have a 2006 Chevy Colorado. Brought to you, brought down from my brother. So I've had this car for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday I got it filled up at the gas station. So I'm like, nothing out of the ordinary. On my way home, so my mom lived about 40 minutes from me. So I'm on my way home and didn't think anything of it. So this morning I look at the gas tank and I'm like, I know my mom lives far from me, but she don't live that far. Because my gas tank is like at 3/4. And I'm like, all right, I'm sure. So I'm driving because I had to go to the client site this morning. So I'm driving and I see my gauge on my fuel slowly start to go down. I'm like
during the 40-minute drive.
While I'm driving to work this morning, and I'm like, bro, what is going on? My car's leaking. But I didn't see any spots in the garage. So I'm like, all right, I'm tripping. So finally, work day, finally get off. I actually get off early just so I can go to some mechanic. So I'm up there in Las Colinas area. So it feels like I'm the only Black person damn near in North Texas
Type shit.
So I'm going to each one of these mechanics. So I go to the first mechanic and I open up my door and I'm like, hey, excuse me, sir. And at this point, my thing, when I started my car, when I left my job, it said low fuel. So I'm thinking I have no gas left. And the few times that I have to stop, it's very important because I see it going lower and lower. So I'm finally
right,
and I'm like, hey, excuse me. And so the dude is just, he's smoking a cigarette and he just looking at his phone. I'm like, bruh. And he was like, oh, hey, how's it going? I was like, can I get your help? I was like, my gas can is leaking. He was just like, well, you might have to replace the whole thing, but you can go up, you can just park anywhere. So I park.
I said you could just park anywhere.
So I park and I get out of my car and nobody's approaching me. So I'm just like, all right, so these folks are really trying to play me. So I walk in and all these, it's nothing but white people in this establishment, and they all staring. I'm just,
they're just staring at you like that.
Yes, and there's nobody in the front. And so I finally get to the front and he telling me oh no, you can't do it. We can't do anything today just because we're full. He was like, but you can leave it here. I was like, I'm not gonna leave it here. So finally I was like, I'm gonna go to my I called my mom and I called my grandmother. And my grandmother's the smartest woman. She was like, take it to the gas station, get it filled up, and then drive it home. She put $10 in there, $10 to $15 in there, fill it up. So I put $10 in there, and it fills up to maybe $5, and it starts to click, and I'm just like,
it starts to click.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, my gas tank is full, so it must be the fuse. And so what I'm thinking it is that the fuse on my car, it tells you that your gas is there's no fuel in it, but you really got gas in there. So I ain't gonna fix something with that. So I've been scared that my gas tank been on E this whole time. So I think I just gotta gauge it now to see how far I can actually go. But Yeah, I went through that.
Damn, bro. There's always something going on. It's never just like, okay, everything is fine.
And it's always money being paid out, bro. You always gotta pay for something. I'm just
It's like as soon as you start to get a little surplus, all of a sudden you got to pay $1,000 for some ways, bro. That shit out annoying.
that's how my day was.
Monday was pretty chill. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I got my first basketball game tomorrow. It was canceled last week because of the snowmageddon.
All right.
But yeah. I mean, I work from home today. I'm going into the office tomorrow. I got to take headshots, so everything is pretty smooth. Going smooth. So I'm just ready to get into this money mindset. I'm not gonna lie.
Man. Okay.
Because, you know, we could talk about relationships, but I think this stuff is way more important.
Bro, it's so pertinent. And people just like to overlook it. Like, yeah, we enjoy talking about relationship, but there's so much knowledge to be seeked. Like so much. But yeah, before we get to that, King of the Week. So King of the Week is actually the Queen of the Week. Goes to none other than Beyonce for the all-time winningest Grammy winner. I did see an article before I like got on about how like she always wins like these very side category Grammys. So I think she won it for dance this time, but she never wins the big one. And I knew as soon as I saw Harry Styles' name, I'm like, bro, too many people love too many people love Harry Styles. And I honestly didn't think I thought Bad Bunny was gonna win it, but
Bad Bunny has been going crazy though. I'm not gonna lie.
He like the most streamed. Like
Like ever type crazy. Like, first off, before we get into anything else, I just want to say, Xavier, your audio and video is amazing. You really? I haven't, bro, and I've been watching myself, and I haven't frozen once. I have not frozen once. I'm like, all right. So we getting better each time, bro. Each time. By episode 100, we don't do procrastinating.
crystal clear. We're gonna have a couch and stuff.
Oh, look at it.
Yeah, it's like gonna be crazy.
Well, I love that. Okay, so is there a book of the week this week?
Yes, book of the week. I actually have it right here. So you're a badass at making money by Jen Sincero. And so she actually has this is like one of the books in a series. Like the main one is known for is like you're a badass and like you can accomplish whatever. But this actually, funny enough, 2017. When I tell you, like, so people know me as a reader now, but it didn't start until I read this book 2017. I was just like,
oh, that was like the book that kicked it off for you?
Yeah. So I was just like, you know what? I need to make more money. 2, I just need to start reading. So absolutely love the book. It's good for people that are not too money savvy, but like would like to be a start. So it's been super helpful. But yeah.
So you gotta end my tripping.
Bro, we gotta bring. Okay, so I got a lot of good positive feedback from the segment "Am I Tripping?" So
I got negative feedback.
Oh, you got. Yeah, you went dark. But okay, so here's the "Am I Tripping?" So this is for my corporate America listeners. So this is the situation. So I have somebody that's working with me. They just came to the firm, and so they're learning the ins and outs of like everything. Right. And so I'm in the process of teaching him things, but there it gets to a point where you teach somebody, copy and paste this on this sheet, let me know when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's some task that shouldn't take more than 2 hours,
bro.
The other day, I asked this man to do something. Oh, no, I was working on something. He was like, yes, I'm working on this one document. And I'm like, I'm confused because 1, I'm working on a document right now. And 2, I gave him a completely different project. And so I was like, I pulled up on Teams and I'm showing him like what I wrote. And he was like, oh yeah, like that's what I wrote. And I was just like, so now you're lying because.
So you wrote it and he's taking credit for it, bro.
And so my am I tripping is I'm a good guy at the end of the day, so I didn't snitch on him. So I want to get your opinion. Am I tripping for not snitching on this man?
No, I wouldn't snitch either. It's always gonna show up later, sooner or later. That's what it is.
And that's my mindset. It's always gonna show up later. Whether it be on a call, whether it be, you know, yeah, you gonna get exposed.
So I wouldn't even worry about it because people will be tripping over that stuff, and I'd be like, Lord, just keep going, and bro, it's all going. Because if you're an imposter, you're an imposter. That's
Yeah, you will get exposed, and yeah, so you got exposed. So. Yeah, you know.
Well, I don't have an am I tripping this week. I mean, I kind of stay out of the drama. Not that Xavier doesn't stay out of the drama, but lately, since I haven't.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rashad just lied to y'all. He said he stays out of drama, bro. This was not clear.
You don't think I can say that? I don't
Absolutely not.
have no girls right now.
Nah, okay.
But you know, I did go on a date last weekend. So, but she was cool.
So okay, I wanted to ask you about the date. Do you think you were? Are you tripping for hitting her up, like calling her immediately the next day?
No.
What's your thought process on taking her on a date and then contacting her? Well, how soon should you contact her?
Oh God, bro, I don't know the answer to this question because I've been doing it wrong. Because I don't know. For me, when I take a girl on a date, I go on great dates. Like the girl's engaged, I'm engaged. Like we have a great time, we do whatever. But it's like, okay, what's the next step after that? I don't know, because if you hit her up the next day, it might be too early. But if you just don't hit her up, she might, think you're not being consistent. And so usually what I tend to do is I will probably wait a couple of days. I usually wait a couple of days before I hit them back up. And if they want to force the issue, they'll hit me up, and that's happened, the majority of the times. But if they don't want to force the issue, at first I like to put it in the woman's hands. Like after I initially,
because you put it in the work on the front end. On the front end, it's a nice day, planning of the day now.
I'm paid for the day, yeah. So like, if she has any more interest in me, I like her to present that type of interest instead of me sitting there just constantly initiating shit. Because if it's not a two-way street, then what do we?
Yeah, facts.
You know what I mean? Some girls, they want you to chase, and they won't put in no work. You got to stay completely away from those women. Completely away. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'd be doing. And that's just going to be our questions for the viewers. When do you hit a girl up after the first date? I'd say if you took her on a date, you paid for it, you did all this, let her do some initiating back to make sure she's interested.
Facts.
For sure. So let me introduce the topic today. So we got the Money Mindset podcast, and so one of our friends, he was asking us to discuss our relationship with money. I obviously work at the bank. Xavier does accounting at EY, so we know a thing or two about money management and finances. He has his master's in accounting. I'm my master's in real estate. So this is stuff that we're still learning about because kind of life is about learning. But at the end of the day, we know more than the average person. We're not financial analysts, so do not take our advice as financial analysts. These are just our opinions on and stuff that we've seen that's worked.
Entertainment only,
pretty much. But today we're going to talk about the basics of finance, the market, what the market is, and how you can use the market to your advantage to guarantee success for you.
Guarantee success.
Yeah, and so I wanted to start it off with a video by an economist named Jim Rohn. So my favorite subject is economics, and when I was taking it in college, I literally made A's in all those classes because I was super interested in it. But he's an economist, and he pretty much breaks it down like he breaks it down like he's talking to a 5-year-old, and it made so much sense to me when I watched this on TikTok. I found the YouTube video, so let's go ahead and get started. Xavier, let me know if you hear it, by the way.
Explain it to kids.
Here now?
We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. Key to understanding economics. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. Marketplace is also described as reality. Reality, the marketplace. Now, it takes time. It takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but we don't get paid for time. It's very important for kids to understand, as well as adults. We don't get paid for time. Mistakenly, the man says, well, I'm making about $20 for an hour. Not true. Not true. If that was true, you could just stay home, have him send your money. Not true. You get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you put in the time. So we don't get paid for time, we get paid for value. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the afternoon. Is it possible to become twice as valuable and make twice as much money in the same time? Is it possible to become 3 times as valuable as you now are and make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? Of course. If you want to really emphasize something, that's a good phrase to it. Of course.
Okay, so I want to stop there because he said a lot. And I actually want to preface this with kind of our views on money in high school and college and then tie it back into here and how we're thinking now. So I'll go first, Xavier, with the high school, then I'll let you chime in on your high school experience. But
Also emphasize like what your parents taught you, or like, and what, their view.
Yeah. So with me, I grew up very privileged. My parents, they were very well off for themselves. But one thing that they did is they didn't just give me everything I wanted. Matter of fact, I mean, I'm not going to say they didn't give me anything because that's definitely not true. But like they made me work for most of the things that I did. And people would just think my parents would give me stuff, but no, they would make me work for it. Whether it be, you got to run this certain time, you got to get these certain grades, or you got to do these certain chores. So my view on money was, okay, it's not just going to be given to me. I have to do some type of work for it. And that work, what Jim Rohn was talking about, is the value you're putting into your time and you're getting paid for it. So I've always had that kind of viewpoint. But when it came to high school, I was insanely broke. Like my parents didn't give me just money to hold on to because I was very irresponsible. And so I'd be lucky to have $5 in my pocket for breakfast at NUS to buy them damn potatoes, bro. Like I would be lucky to have $5 in my pocket, bro. That broke. So my relationship with money in high school was very stringent, and it expanded when I took Coach McKay's class senior year. I was like, okay, I'll get into investing, but I really wasn't too focused on it. I was just focused on kind of living my life and doing what I do. So to sum all that up, my parents instilled in me, okay, you have to work for money instead of just giving it to you. But at the same time, I was broke, so I didn't really have a huge concept of money in high school.
And I grew up below middle class. I would say single family household. Divorced parents is like how I was brought up. So I would say money was a huge topic because it's definitely noticeable when you don't have as much. Like I just remember, so you talked about like the whole, how we felt about it in high school. I remember I would have to have $20 to stretch me like 2 weeks. And I knew that because $2 a day would give me 2 fries. Because that was back when fries were $1 each. And so niggas used to pull up on me and I used to like, yeah, bro, as long as I get my 2 fries or my peanut butter and jelly sandwich, when I tell you that is like my staple. It's so funny because like now that I have money, it's like, it feels a lot different because I'm still doing stuff that I used to do.
Bro, still doing stuff. Yes, bro. Yes.
And so money was a big topic like in my household, but I think more so the mindset of an entrepreneur. So my mom and I knew I didn't want to immediately go into entrepreneurship when I saw my mom, because I saw how hard it was and how you basically have to build from the ground up. So my mom has always had like that workaholic, like work ethic, like inside herself. But it was so hard to scale it when you just like are trying to do it by yourself. So I think one of the things that I knew is that, and this is why I would appreciate Rashad and Kamar so much, because like they used to be the dudes that I would be like, hey bro, can I borrow like $5 and I like pay you back? And like they would just give it to me and I didn't even have to pay them back. Like they were just solid dudes in high school. And so what that just taught me is that sometimes you don't even have to have, the most money. You don't have to grow up, very privileged, as long as you are surrounded by individuals that just mess with you. Like that just I can't tell you how many opportunities I've gotten for free or people paid for me to like go to certain thing just because of who I was and how much they believed it. And like it was that belief in me that like it spurred any like work ethic I had in me to like, all right, if they gonna pour in me and they gonna give me money, like I need to go harder. So go back to that whole value that you were talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I think, you know, it could be overlooked that even though you're not, you know, doing a job for money, if you are surrounding yourself with the right people, you can, you know, socialization can almost be a currency in itself. Like,
100.
I want to get to a point where I'm so rich, I don't have to pay for anything else. Like, people would just pay me to pull up at their club. People will pay me to wear their stuff. People will pay me, you know, to appear like, you know, at different venues. And like, once you have that kind of social capital, like that
Your world is already man.
yeah,
Bro. That's crazy, bro.
so, but one thing I did learn because I didn't have much money growing up is how to save it. So my family always knows me that like, I hate the word like, oh, he cheap, like, cause I'm not cheap. I just
Call it frugal, bro.
frugal. I just like to spend money on things I like to spend money on. And if I don't like it, why would I put my money where I don't? Like, it doesn't make sense.
It makes no
Like, and I had to realize that, you know, from college to, you know, being a grow up is like, I like the club scene. It's cool or whatever, but like, that's just not my like style. So like when I go out, one, paying for a cover. If now at this age, if there's a cover, it's not
Yeah.
$20.
We're not going to Vegas, bro.
yeah, I can't do it. And then you want me to pay for drink? Yeah, yeah.
And then I can do girls' drinks. That's
I guess I was like
highway
in my place. I could throw a kickback in my place for a fraction of the price and have 20,
bro.
So exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah, so that's kind of like our relationship with money in high school. And moving on to college, I know I got a scholarship to Arkansas, and it was a full scholarship, and they paid me on monthly. And so my relationship with money changed a little bit. I started to see it for kind of what it is, because I had like a lot of money and not really any bills to pay. So when you're in that type of environment, especially because social media was just ramping up, it's in full swing now. This is 2015, 2016. So 5 years after Instagram was created, everybody's flexing, everybody's, you know, trying to do what it do. And so I'm getting kind of caught up in this this flex culture, and I got a little money to spend. I'm in college, so I'm trying to get the girls. That's my main priority. So I'm in college. I had a spending problem. I would just buy shoes. I would do this and the third, and it didn't get out of hand by any means because I wasn't crazy with it, but like I was way more aggressive than I was in high school. And, you know, I really wish somebody would have sat me down and told me, look, if you save 40% of your per diem, you will have like $15,000 after you graduate or something like that. Because that's what the numbers kind of.
So Rashad, for us I don't know what y'all call us, plebes or non-athletic.
Call y'all narcs.
Yeah. That. What is a per diem?
So this is what happens. So when you're on full scholarship, I don't know how the rules are now, but it is the rules when I was back in college. They paid your room, board, and tuition if you're on full scholarship. And sometimes that room and board covered more than what your actual room and board was. So let's just say I was allotted $1,500 a month for my room and board, but I'm staying somewhere where I'm only paying $800 a month. I'm able to net out that difference of what, $700, $800, whatever it was. I think it's $700. So I'm able to net that out. But some people, you know, that are on like full plus some other stuff, get that money, you know, room, board, tuition, plus a stipend every month. So they might get room and board, and they might be netting that $700 a month I talked about, but then they might also get a stipend called per diem of another $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. And so
$1,500 a month?
Yes, bro. If you play football, for sure. So some people, a lot of my counterparts, especially on the women's side, women get paid hella money in college, by the way. But especially on the women's side, they would be netting, you know, $2,000 a month ish. And so it was just like, it's like my relationship with money changed because like, okay, now we can go do this, now we can go do that, now we can go buy this, now we can go buy that. And we didn't really have no bills for real. And so, you know, I try to teach college kids financial literacy. I tried to do that my senior year at A&M because I know, like, okay, you're netting this money now too, and plus, if you go pro, you're going to be making millions of dollars here in the next year and a half. So if you don't have any type of concept of money, then you're going to be wasting a good bit of your income that you could have started with. And we're about to talk about it, but the main asset you have is time. So I try to teach people early, but like I said, just to sum it up, my college concept of money was that it was very frivolous. Like I was just spending money, not really caring about saving.
So would you recommend somebody going through like that phase? Like, do you think that phase of blowing your money, buying out everything, all these shoes, do you recommend that, going through that phase to like learn how to appreciate money?
No, I don't recommend that phase because I mean, I could see how it allures people because it obviously allured me. But if you could tell somebody like, look, like this is what the end goal is, and this is how much faster you can get to that end goal if you just do this now. If you put it to them like that, then they won't even have to waste their time buying shoes that they're not even going to wear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really recommend getting into a habit of spending money because some people would never get out of it. You know what I mean? So man, that's why I say no. I don't recommend it. And I was in finance class with a lot of Caucasian men and women, and their parent and they're quote unquote NARPs, and NARP stands for non-athletic regular person. Yeah, I know it's very weird to say, but yeah. But like the Caucasians that were in the business schools, their parents had already told them about money management, about finances, and about what to do with the money that they were getting if they had a job or if they were on academic scholarship. And so in terms of mindset, they're way ahead of the game, and this is something that I like to teach minorities especially. Like, look, we can get way ahead of the game too. We just have to make a couple chess pieces move in a different way. So
facts. Yeah. So So I'm total opposite. I was the broke college student. Like, well, even before that, I'll go through the average college matriculation process of me choosing a college because one, I had good grades. Like, I went to NUS, so I had a pretty good ACT score. But it was like I was right up under like the smart people. I would be the dumbest of the smartest niggas in the school. That's how I felt sometimes. But it got down to going to the public school of Tennessee, so University of Tennessee, Knoxville, or Morehouse. So I came down to two. I mean, this could be a discussion for another day. I verge HBCU, but it got down to HBCUs not being able, one, not being properly funded, and two, since they're not properly funded, they can't really give out the scholarship money that needs to be done. And so in order to get like a full ride, like you got to be, called A+ at everything, all your classes, athletic.
Yeah.
I took that. That was one of my sacrifices. I know when Marcus introduced this topic to us, he wanted to talk about some of the sacrifices. That was one of the hardest sacrifices. It's just, not taking as much debt on, because I mean, for the average person, you're most likely going to take on debt. If you're not, top like Rashad breaking records, you're not going to get all of your school paid for. So I would think that would be one financial step, because people don't understand this, because you're at that 17 to 18, point of life, you don't really know about money. But going $40,000 in debt is detrimental for the rest of your life. Like
literally the rest of your life.
There are people now, there are people my brother's age, like in their 30s, like still paying off debt from when they were in school many, many years ago. So it's like, I think it's important that can start you off, because, if you're in a situation like Rashad, you're automatically graduating college or getting your master's. You're coming out of college with no debt. So like the world is your oyster at that point, but people don't really know the magnitude of that. So that's one good tidbit, is choosing the right college. I think, we get, back when, I was going to college, we get wrapped up in like the names and stuff like that. Don't get too wrapped up in the names, because
bro, they're just big name universities. Like, it's not really that much better, if at all.
Exactly.
To be honest.
And eventually, like, you're going to be in the same room with these people. So like when I started going through like the internship process for like my company, I'm in the same room with people that went to Brown, went to USC, to Chapel Hill. So it's just like it all shakes out, in the end. So being smart about that. But I would say as a college student, this is where I would say college was the point where I learned the thought process of I really have to work for all the money that I get. There is no longer relying on my mom and dad or, somebody to just give me some money. And so I had 3 jobs when I was in college. I had 2 recruiting jobs. One was for minority recruitment, one for like just the university recruitment. And then I had like an alumni role in the alumni house. And so it really taught me to not only the money that I make, because I still had to pay rent, like when I was living in the house I was living in. Still had to learn how to pay rent. And that's when I start knowing how to divvy my money up, because you really know how to like split a penny when you in college and like y'all going in on pizza. Like you really got money management. And so, I always will have money. So I spent money on the stuff that I want. Like back in high school, I remember spending like 120 on like some J's. I still had them J's to this day.
Man, those J's I still got them. Really,
it's a huge return on your investment when you're able to take care of your stuff. But that was my concept of money in college became, all right, you need this to survive. And if you have a surplus of it, you can actually enjoy some of the spoils of life if you properly save. Because there'll be some times where, some people, they get their refund check and they're just like, oh, I'm going to blow this. I'm going to, like, no, you have to say like, all right, let me save this much because I know I have rent and rent is due every year. I mean, every month. And so I need to separate that from my regular expenses. And then I have whatever's left. That's what I get as the residual, and I can like, go on dates, spend money at the club and stuff like this.
I think you said really 2 important things. Like one is the concept of debt. Like people really just go to college and they try to go to these big name universities, i.e. like me, it was Baylor. Like a lot of people were saying, oh my God, I can't believe you got into Baylor, man. I'm trying to go to Baylor. Baylor is like $40,000 a semester or something crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like why go to Baylor, get an art degree, pay $40,000 a semester for 4 years when you could just go to a small little art institute, pay, $3,000-$4,000 in tuition and not have to pay all that debt back. Like,
yeah.
So I think people go into things and they don't think debt is real money. Debt is real money that you owe, and it's gonna come due. There's not gonna be any loan debt forgiveness. That stuff is a myth. That stuff is not happening.
Yeah.
And so I think people need to get more of a concept of what debt is. The second thing you said is, you need to work you learn to work and not be reliant on your parents. And this is something that I think is a drawback for a lot of kids that have very, very, very successful parents. It's like, okay, you kind of become reliant on them. If you have, nicer parents, then they'll just continue to fund you, even if you have bad decisions and bad behavior. And it can get to the point where you are so reliant on them that you might not grow up. Reliant. And that's
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's what is happening to a lot of people who have very well-off parents. They're not being forced to grow up. And that's one thing I'm really thankful my dad did. He was able to accomplish this on the track because he was my track coach, but he forced me to grow up on the track because, everything I did on the track was a direct result of the work that I put in and practice every day. And so that kind of translates to life.
Yeah, that's why I like your dad so much, because like, one thing that he really showed me is like he was one of the first, where we see our generation going, where like we're the first in our family to like actually make some like buku bread. And so, but this is what I like what Shaq said, because he said the money that I made in my entire career, it's my money. It's not my kid. Like I'm rich, my kid is not rich.
Right.
And so like your dad always showed me how to do it in a very skillful way, where like you still supplying, your Rashad said, like, don't let Rashad fool y'all. This man still had a drop top song in high school, flexing and stuff. So like he still had very nice things, but I think he appreciated money more. And I can think of like guys that off the top of my head at NUS, they were like, they came from money, and You can definitely tell. Like
You could definitely tell.
they stick with their parents. Like, yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. But I want one topic that I wanted to touch on was the whole picking your major, because I know we have
Yes, bro. This is a great topic.
quite a few people listening to us that are maybe still in college or just coming out. But like, this is my personal opinion on it. I was a business major, but this is what I would say: if you are not going to school for a certain discipline, such as nursing, being a doctor, accounting, where it's like what you're learning is directly applicable to what you're going to be doing in the real world. If it's not something like that, I honestly would just go and learn it yourself. Like, learn about it on your own time and learn business. Like, I think that should be a base level. Like, every student should to have a base level of business knowledge, whether it be marketing, management, or anything like that. Because whether you're going to be, a poet, whether you're going to be an electrician, whether you're going to be an engineer, at some point in time, you're going to have to work for a company. That company is running a business, and you're going to need to know how they are finessing you or how you can get over.
Right.
That separates the rich from the poor.
Right.
And can I take advantage of the opportunity that I'm given and not spoil it, being worried on, chasing my passion? Because that's the mantra that they try to push now, is that, like, you have to work for a company and you can't chase your passion. Like, you can chase your passion and make money at the same time.
I don't understand why that's not being preached. Like, it's really a cheat code. That's exactly what we're doing right now, Xavier.
But I think it's hard to understand. It's hard for people to understand that you can have a 9-to-5 and chase your passions at the same time. It's like, you don't have to be like, no, I'm quitting my job and chasing my dreams, and you don't have to do that. Like,
it makes no sense to do that.
You can have a income generating unit that's consistently paying you money every 2 weeks, every week, and then have, like how we doing with the podcast, where you have something on the side that you're committing yourself to. I think that's the messed up part, is like, if you have a job that's sucking you dry at the end of the day to where you don't want to work on your passions, you got the wrong job, bro.
You got the wrong job. And plus, like, to piggyback off what you said, you have your main job, your main cash cow, and then you have your side hustle. And then once your side hustle starts making more money than your cash cow, then you can kind of switch your priorities. Then you could quit your 9-to-5, not before.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And to go back to the major thing, a lot of people ask me, what should I major in? Namely, some of my cousins or some of the people that, look up to me as a mentor. And I tell them, look, like, the number one goal in life is to make money. And the only reason you want to make money is so you can get control over your time.
Right.
And so you shouldn't be choosing a major that is not going to make you the amount of money that you want to make. Like, you shouldn't be going into, like, art or journalism. Those, if you're trying to make $500,000 a year, you shouldn't really be going into those majors, only because the top 0.0001% will make that type of money. Yeah. If you're like, okay, I want to be well off, I want to be this, that, and the third, and I'm going to take on debt to go to college, you better be going to be a doctor, lawyer, architect, engineer. You better be going and do those type of jobs, because if not, then you're going to be, like we talked about earlier, struggling to pay off your debt, and then you're going to be mad at yourself and you're not making the type of money you want to make.
Yeah. And this is no knock to, like, any of the other majors. Like, I think you can still, chase your passion. So, like, one of the most underrated majors, like education. So, like, I know teachers are the most underpaid. Like, dealing with your children for 9 hours a day is absolutely ridiculous. And only getting $40K for it? What?
Bruh, it's treason.
So it's like, it's important to know that, like, if that's your passion, like, 100% go to it. But we're saying that it makes 0 sense to get $40K in debt, go to a liberal arts institution, study psychology, and then have to stay in school 5 more years to get a doctorate to maybe teach it. Like, nah, if you don't love it, you gotta get out of that shit, bro.
Right,
as soon as possible. And like and Rashad put a great point about time is not money. At the end of the day, like, you are trying to optimize for time. I think if I could get a job that, let me work whenever I wanted and I can get paid $1 bajillion, like, for sure, I would definitely do that. But like, I just want more control of my time at the end of the day. I don't really want the money. Like, the money is cool. It allows me to do different things that I want. But at the same time, I want time with family. I want time with friends. I want time to travel. Like, it's just so much to get out of it.
Word. And so this is the last part of the video I want to play, because I think this part is really important and kind of segues us into the rest of our talk about money mindset. And it's just about when you're
Valuable. Now, why would we pay somebody only $4 an hour? They're not very valuable to the marketplace. Now, we got to make that distinction, to the marketplace. Might be a valuable brother, a valuable member of the community, valuable member of the church, valuable member in the sight of God, to the human family, of course, those kind of values. But to the marketplace, which is called what?
reality.
Reality is, if you're not very valuable, you don't get much money.
And like, I'm not gonna, like, I still have more to play, but I just want to harp on this one point. When I talk about value, I'm not talking about personal value to, like he said, the church, your family, your friends. I'm not talking about that type of value. And when I talk to women and men, and I say high value man, high value woman, I'm not talking about personal value. And really listening to this video is what helped me distinguish the two. Because people think I'm talking about them personally. No, I'm talking about your value to the marketplace. Yeah. Which, if you understand anything about economics, you realize that you cannot determine your own value. A house doesn't determine its own value. What determines the house's value? What people are willing to pay for it. Yeah. And if people aren't willing to pay for you, then you're not valuable by definition. Yeah. And so when I say, okay, he's not a high value man or he's not a high value woman, it simply means that people are not paying for his value. Yeah. That's all it's saying.
Or not willing, yeah. Or not
willing to pay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Those are called the facts. I mean, that's how that is. Well, then how do you get more money? Simple answer. Somebody says, well, I'll go on strike for more. Well, here's a major problem with that. You can't get rich by demand. Somebody says, well, I'm waiting for a raise. I'm telling you, it's easier than to wait for a raise. Why not just become more valuable rather than wait? I'm telling you, that's the key.
And so that's where we're going to stop the video right there. So Xavier, before we get into like what our concept of money is right now, kind of tell us what he means by becoming more valuable. What does that mean to you?
To me, it means, so this is the first thing that came to my mind is the mindset of being a producer rather than consumer. I feel like we are now in a society where we are trying to convince everybody to be consumers. So like what Amazon does, what Apple does, is that they push, these ideas on you and that you want to consume. Where you bring value is when you become a producer, whether it be producing content like we do here on the podcast, whether it be producing shirts, but providing a service to humanity or to your local community, that increases your value. And I think people try to they sometimes confuse their likes and what's happening on social media, like these different type of apps, as their value. So if like, I got these many, blue check marks that's, trying to hit me up, or look under my comments, like that stuff does not matter. I think it's more telling when you see how broke some of these rappers actually are. So like,
no, they're very broke.
You don't start money. And I wish we can go into the business of music, because you make like 0.0001 cent of like one song. So it has to get somewhere near like 1 billion plays for you to get somewhere near $1,000. Like,
right.
And I say that to say, like, we need to learn what it means to be a producer here in society, bring forth, a product or a service that people want, that people appreciate you for. It's so important to never do anything that you're good at for free. You always want to charge for your services, because that's when you start bringing in Because when you start getting paid for it, you start taking more pride in it. And you start saying like, okay, let me take advantage of this and, you know, put more effort into it. That way I can charge higher amounts.
Mm-hmm.
So
For me, bringing more value is everything Xavier just said, but I'm gonna kind of segue it in another way. It's really kind of analyzing what the market is. So for me, my market is Austin, Texas, because it's where I live. So analyze what the market is and figuring out what the market needs and providing what the market needs. And so if you could do this on a global or a united or I guess a national scale, then that's when you'll make the big bucks. But for me, I'm trying to start off kind of just citywide and then branch out. But it's really as simple as just thinking about what the market, learning the market and figuring out what they need. So for instance, with me and my corporate job, you know, my manager really needs someone that'll sit behind the computer, crank out numbers, do financial spreads, and do underwriting. And so because I know how to do that, I'm valuable to him, and he's paying me, you know, my paycheck, but I'm valuable to him because he could say, okay, Rashad, here, I got this deal from HPI. They want to build an apartment building in Denver. Go ahead and take care of the level 1, 2, and 3. We'll have a meeting and we'll see if we can do this deal. And I'm, you know, getting all the information from the client, putting it into the Excel. And then, you know, if we do the loan, I'm servicing the loan, you know, just getting together all the documents. So all he has to do is bring the relationship in. And my value is taking care of the relationship after we've already created it. And so that's what my manager needs. That's what he finds valuable. And I say all this to say, go to your market or your manager or wherever you're trying to figure out what they need and then provide a service that fixes that need. And that's how you become more valuable to the marketplace.
Bro, that deserves all the horns, all the bang, all of them that you have, bro. Because when I tell you that's such an important point. Like knowing the market is, so there's this thing called structural unemployment. And all structural unemployment means is that you have the skills, you have a certain skill, but the skill is not needed within the market right now. Right. So you are really unemployed because your skills don't match what the market is. It's so important to know what the market needs because sometimes we can be redundant. Like, I love how people are like, oh, not everybody needs a podcast. Like, although not everybody needs a podcast, I don't know about you, Rashad, but I don't really know anybody like close to me that has a podcast. No. So like we saw a need that we are both, you know, well-spoken individuals that have, you know, ideas that resonate with a lot of people that we talk to. And so the need for, you know, dispelling this information to the masses is needed through this podcast. So we saw a need and we provided, you know, this source of entertainment. Like, yeah, you have to know the market. We don't need, you know, more rappers. We don't need more like ballers. Like we need scientists. We need, you know, social workers. We need accountants. Like we need so many other things outside of, you know, what they try to push like in the media. It's just knowing your market is where it all starts.
And it's super easy to go look up. You could literally go look at Bloomberg.com, the news. I like to look at Bloomberg because it's financial. But you'll realize, okay, there's a shortages of doctors or shortages of random stuff. And you just be sitting there like, man, you know, I can major in this and there's a shortage in this market. Let me just become this and you're going to get a job like that. And that's when you have a strategy for this game of life. And that's when you start to really become more valuable and when you're actually thinking about your next move versus just letting things happen.
Yes.
That's the biggest part about what we're going to say. Like, instead of being reactive and just spending money and then getting in weird situations, be proactive.
Yes.
And think about what you're going to do before you do it. So therefore, when the end of the month comes and you're like, man, I got rent coming up next day, you're not worried about if you're going to make the rent payment because you already planned for it.
Yes. Yeah, bro. And that's the biggest part is the whole planning for it. Like if you're able to plan ahead, like I just don't understand people, even with the Beyonce tickets that are coming up, people are like buying the Beyonce tickets knowing good and well that you cannot afford that. It's I'm just like, I understand like it's maybe like a once in a lifetime thing, but you have to put in priority. Like yeah, I know if I go to this concert, I am putting myself in a major hole, $500 to $1,000. And Beyonce is not going to lose a wink of sleep because you broke.
It'd be different if that jump wasn't on TV for you to watch.
Yeah.
But because you can access it in other ways that are cheaper, if you were to buy a Beyonce ticket and be struggling for money, then it's just on you at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to kind of get into this because we've already been talking for a minute, but I kind of want to get into this because a lot of people ask me, what's my mindset on investing right now? What's my mindset on money right now? And let me just tell you the reason for my mindset, kind of how I got here, and what I'm going to look forward to in the future. And Xavier going to do the exact same thing.
Gosh.
So for me, I just bought a house. I'm in obviously $365,000 of debt now.
Yeah.
Which, there's good debt and bad debt. So don't think all debt is bad. But
Right.
I just bought a house, so I don't want to really do too much when it comes to these expenses. I'm really on my saving journey because, as we just watched, I'm really trying to become more valuable to my marketplace, which is Austin, Texas. That's why I've set my life up in commercial real estate and residential real estate, because I want to, attack it from two different facets. But what the most important thing when it comes to investing, kind of switching gears, is time. I don't think a lot of people understand that investing is more of an exponential exponential logarithmic situation, rather than a linear. And so I was, this came from the Psychology of Money. The author's name was Morgan Housel, but he was talking about Warren Buffett and how he's been investing since he's 10 years old. And so he has a lot of time in the marketplace because he's like 80 now, or I don't know how old he is, but he's been like 70, almost a century of him investing. And 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth comes after he was 50. So he invested 40 years, and that's only equivalent to 1% of his net income. So what does that tell you? It tells you that investing, all you need to do is put in the time, and it goes kind of exponentially, kind of like we talked about with James Clear and the plateau of latent potential, and how you have that valley of disappointment. Our expectations are linear, but it's actually exponential. And the reason why this matters is because when people are investing, they're expecting to get fast money, but there is no such thing as fast money. There's no reason to get rich in a hurry because it's just going to lead to greed and you're going to mess up somehow.
Right.
And so if 99% of Warren Buffett's net worth comes after he was 50 and he was investing since he was 10, that means you're probably 99 to 95% of your money is not going to come to your above 60, 65 years old if you started investing at 25.
Right.
And so that's what you have to keep in mind. And that's the hardest part, holding off to your that age, or I guess keeping your money in the market till you're that age. It takes discipline, but that doesn't mean don't live a life. It just means like, look, if you have an investment, leave it there. Don't touch it.
Man, and that's hard because people start getting their emotions like involved with their investing. Like, I think it's you just have to keep your emotions out of it. Like, I have learned on my sad days when the market is plunged 20%, I just can't even look. You can't even open up the app, and you can't even be happy. Just know that one day it's gonna come back, but you have to give it time. But I want to touch on 2 points about this, about how I developed my whole mindset now. And so there's two things I want to touch on. The first thing is surround your environment. It's so important to surround yourself with people that are consistently in your ear about investing, whether it be topics that you understand or not. So one thing is that I did probably the beginning of 2020. I would say 2020 was the start of me like, all right, because I bought my house the last year. Yeah, so the 2020 is when I started saving for my house. So, I started like the whole stimulus check. Like, I got some money from like my school. I stole all that away into a savings, into different Roth IRAs, because I knew I wanted to save it for the long term. But the main thing I want to talk about what happened in 2020 was that I joined this group. So of course I'm part of a fraternity, but specifically within my chapter, we have a group of us that just what we talk about is investment ideas, what we're doing in the market. And there's some people in that group where I'm just like, y'all just have, 20K to just throw around and just, see what happens. But I think one of the things it does is like, while I may not understand everything that's going on, in the day to day of the group or each subject that somebody brings up, it's good to just be knowledgeable of it. So when somebody brings ChatGPT in regular conversation, you're not behind the curve. You're actually exactly what they mean. So that was one of the first things I had to do was I had to get around, people like Rashad we were talking about, investing in real estate, investing in stocks and bonds, to where it is something that's consistently a part of your day every single day. Because I can tell you right now, if you're not thinking about, how to improve yourself or how to make more money each day, then you are doing yourself a disservice, because it has to be something that is on your mind. I know one of the things it talks about in the psychology of money is like always it's not staying in a state of fear, but most so a paranoia where you're like,
oh yeah,
all right, I need to know that while I am having fun, rent is coming up, and I need to be mindful that I need to pay rent at the beginning.
Paranoid people about money, they survive.
Yeah, they survive like anything, because when everything is going good, they're like, all right, I need to start buying puts, to my investment. Then you start doing like a defensive strategy within your investment. Right. But the second part, so on top of like finding a group, one of the things that I liked about this topic is everybody's not playing the same game. No. So to go back to that whole group analogy, I have to realize that, one, some of these people came for money. Like, two, some of these people have families, so their investing strategy is different. So it's always important to be mindful of somebody's, background. So like even with we are single, bachelors, 25 with our own house. So it's easy for us to say like, go out to Bali, enjoy your life, like do whatever you want. But if you listen to this, with children, it's kind of like, all right, I can't do that. So let me try to figure out how I can adjust what they're doing to my lifestyle right now. And that's and that's why I got burned a couple times. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you start listening to other people's day traders strategies, and you're just like, oh, well, if I put like the whole AMC and GameStop shit, where you're like, oh, GameStop to the moon, and you're putting your life savings into something that has no value whatsoever. You're just going off of what people are, artificially pumping the market for. So it's
in general, fast cash is never good cash.
Ever. And that's what I had to realize. I had to be okay with, because even with the whole
Forex
that had it, bro. And like people were just like, oh, sign up under me, we can get this 150. Like,
it's just a scam, really.
I was just like, bro, this shit is ridiculous. Like,
it's ridiculous.
You have to, even if you're gonna do that, you have to do it consistently every day, and you have to be okay with losing a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. And that's the worst part, Xavier, because people do not show their losses. They only show their gains. And so what you'll see on Instagram is, oh, I just made a quick, easy morning. I just made $700. But they didn't tell you that on the next one or the previous one, they lost $750. So they're actually netting negative $50. And so that's the crazy part. And Xavier kind of touched on this point, but I want to reiterate it. When it comes to people not playing the same game as you, you should really be very not paranoid, but you should really take people's advice on investing with a grain of salt, including ours. Right. Because if you're talking to a day trader, he's telling you invest in Apple, but he's on a different timeline than you. You're trying to invest in Apple for the long term. Right. He's only trying to invest in it until lunchtime. And so he's thinking, okay, the Apple stock is going to go up $2 until lunch, and I'm going to be able to, and I'm buying 100 stocks, so I might make $200 on this stock before lunchtime. But you're like, okay, he's telling me to invest in Apple, but I'm trying to hold it for 10 years. The advice is going to be way off because your goal and his goal are not aligned at all. So when you're listening to people's advice, you need to ask them what they're optimizing.
Yeah.
And make sure you're in alignment first. And then if he's an expert, then you can actually listen. If not, then what you should realize is investing is kind of counterintuitive to where the more time you put into it, you're not going to get any really better at it. It's not like a basketball, track. It's not like a sport where you could put in a whole bunch of time and then you can get better over time. That's why these, hedge funding and personal finance and all these different companies, their goal is just to beat the market. And most people don't beat the market. In the market, I mean like regular index funds, because it's really hard to guess where things what things are going to do in life. Nobody could have foreseen COVID, which is something that, wrecked a lot of people. So in general, my best advice to people on a long-term goal, because I'm on a long-term, I'm trying to save until retirement and yonder. Right. So my best advice would be, look, I said yonder. My best advice is say, look, invest in you a Vanguard index fund or just an index fund and just let it sit there.
So what is an index fund?
So an index fund basically is a fund with a whole bunch of companies in it in a certain sector. And so there are thousands of index funds, really.
Right.
There are a couple of main ones, but in general, if you just go on Yahoo Finance and type in index funds, you'll be able to see a whole list of all of them.
Right.
But my general advice is, you could get you a financial advisor like Edward Jones, Charles Schwab, if you feel like you could do it yourself. But if you want somebody's help, you can do a Northwestern Mutual. You could just say, look, take $300 out of my check a month,
right,
invest it in an index fund, and I'm not going to touch it until I get really old.
Fact.
And I think that strategy is the best strategy, because not only are you paying yourself every month, but you're letting your nest egg sit in a index fund that's going to usually be inflation every year. So you're going to be making money in the grand long term. If you talk 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're going to be making hella money, because the market has never over a 50-year time period gone down.
Yeah. And I think, important thing that I want to bring up, it should just blanked out of my head.
It blanked out?
Hold on. You were just talking about
index funds, Vanguard.
Oh, yes. Okay. An important piece we talked about last week was synchronizing your life.
Yeah.
So I think, let's just say you're not really well versed in like index funds, and you don't really want to go and search like what is an index fund or what are the best ones to invest in. I highly recommend for beginners is just investing with the stuff that you use every day. You spend $2 on Starbucks every morning. That $2 at the end of the month, that could equal a few shares within Starbucks. Like, and sometimes you don't have to buy full shares. That's what I like about some of the platforms like Robinhood, where they allow you to buy like fractional shares of like big companies. And that's essentially what I'm doing. So like pretty much everything that I like invest in, I somewhat use, in some shape or form, whether it be Nike, Amazon,
right,
Google, Microsoft. Like there's things that I use every day, and I'm seeing the day-to-day improvements of the systems and things that we do. So why wouldn't I not want to put like my money that way? So that's just another essential thing of like synchronizing your life into where you are building something, and all you have to do every day when you get up is be yourself. Like, you like shoes, you like, shopping at Amazon, you like getting your coffee. So you might as well invest in all those things, and it becomes synchronized all the way through. It gets so much easier.
It gets so much easier. And I want to kind of end the podcast with this. I know we touched on a lot of points here today. We're going to go into more detail in future podcasts on, our investing strategies, which, is pretty whatever. Kind of what paranoia looks like to be regular but paranoid at the same time.
Right.
How to what game we're playing. Kind of our advices on X, Y, Z. We're gonna get into all that, but we got to give you the high level game before we kind of give you the secular game.
For sure.
But the last point that I wanted to touch on is this idea of enough. And so when you're investing, you have to figure out when. Or I guess the best way to put this is you have to figure out how much money you want to make and when enough is enough. So like, what do you want to do in life, and how much money is it going to take to get there? And then when is enough? So like for me, I want to travel the world. I want to have control over my time. And for me, enough per year without a family is probably around $200,000. If I'm making $200,000 and, I don't have a family, I just have a house, then I could pretty much take PTO when I want to. And I could pretty much go on any trip that I want to. And $200,000 is a lot of money. Like, I don't need that much, but if I'm making $200,000, like enough is enough. And now I'm not gonna be greedy, and now I'm not gonna let's just say Two Black Kings is making $500K. I'm not gonna try to cheat Xavier out of right. I'm not gonna try to cheat other people because I'm making enough money. Yeah. And so I only said to say, like, you need to set a goal of what is enough money so you can catch yourself from falling into the money trap, which is greed. And as they say, money's the root of all evil. That's because people are not saying enough is enough. And they're just like always trying to make more, always trying to make more, always trying to make more. And I'm not saying that always trying to make more money is bad. I'm just saying that if you have no discipline, not discipline, if you have no limitation, if you don't have a guideline for yourself, right, you're gonna get out of you're gonna get out of control.
You get greedy. And like, right. I would say, you know, on the other side of that is not only knowing how much money you want to make, but how much time do you want to have? Like, that could be another thing. It's like, you want to get up in the morning and enjoy your morning, actually cook you some breakfast, you know, take your time, but you have to set up your life to where you're making that much money to where you can just get up and be like, you know what, I can do whatever I want today.
Bro,
if you're maximizing that, like, you don't even have to worry about how much, you know, money that you have to make. You're more focused on, all right, how can I maximize the time that I have here on the earth, and how can I maximize it with the people I love?
Right. And what can I do every day that makes me feel fulfilled? That's really it. But, and so I did an experiment. I let y'all know last experiment where I deleted Instagram from Saturday to this Saturday, or another Saturday. And so I noticed, you know, three main things. One is that I had way less time on my phone, like my screen, like, Screen time was down by like 50%. So that lets me know most of my time is spent on Instagram. Also, I felt kind of, I don't want to say out of the loop, but I felt kind of dejected. Like, people were running track meets and people were doing this and doing that, but I had no idea what was going on. I was at the loop. I had no idea what was going on. And lastly, I felt this brain fog kind of lift off my head and I think it's because I was meditating every day as well, so that might be a factor. But because I wasn't seeing how other people were living, I was only focused on what I was doing. And so, like, it kind of like cleared up brain fog to where I was like constantly in the back of my head comparing myself to what this person's doing, Right. They're at this restaurant, you know, that looks cool, I want to go there. Like, I wasn't doing any of that. I was just focused on my craft. Right. Everything. So I'm not saying that I'm going to have Instagram deleted, because that's at this point probably not a realistic goal, but I am using it less and less. And after about 3 or 4 days, I wasn't as tempted to just get on Instagram. Okay. I'm alive. So,
well, appreciate y'all. That is the last edition
of the Two Black Kings podcast. Xavier, that's it. The quality fire. We back this. We are here, man.